League of Legends is a game decided not only by your skill and reaction time, but also by the research that you do, which allows you to stay on top of the competition. To make things easier for all of you guys, our analysts have done all of the research for you, and today we will cover everything right here, so make sure you stay tuned. Really quick though, do me a favor and answer our question of the day. What is a fun build that you really wish was actually good? For me, one of my favorite builds is to stack as many energized items as possible. Static Shiv, Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon, and then another Kirche Shard. And let us know your answers in the comments down below, but that burst is pretty funny. By the way guys, I want you to also check out ProGuides.com if you haven't already. For those of you who are very serious about getting better this season and actually climbing ranks, you need to check it out. We have a bunch of content as well as some great coaches who are willing to help you guys out over there. And with all that being said, let's get this video started. And with these sleeper OP builds, let's start with the most sleeper role, which is top lane, and let's start with Renekton. So do you remember those Blade of the Ruined King buffs from this patch? Well, whether or not you do, Renekton does. Bork Renekton is actually pretty powerful and players are starting to pick up on it. First off, Renekton's W not only stuns his target, but also splits up that empowered auto attack into either 2 or 3 mini strikes based on whether or not he has Fury. He's able to take full advantage of Blade of the Ruined King's passive as a result of this, activating it multiple times whenever he stuns his target, which he will do a lot of. This makes it great for taking down tanks as well as other bruisers. Both of them are seeing a lot of play at the moment in the top lane. On top of all of that, the active portion of the item does allow Renekton to reach his targets much more easily. The only thing worse than a giant lizard that one-shots you is a giant lizard that not only one-shots you, but also chases you down with ease and then lifesteals. For runes, take some standard ones like Conquer, Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand, followed by Bone Plating and Overgrowth. You can swap out the secondary tree for Domination or whatever else you like based on preference. For items, grab yourself a Black Cleaver, Mercury Treads, or Ninja Tabby, Titanic Hydra, Blade of the Ruined King, Steric's Gauge, and a Guardian Angel. Alright, if you haven't checked it out already, I highly suggest to go give our video on Kalista top lane a look. We talk about her much more in depth in that video. Seriously, this pick is super cool and we needed to dedicate an entire video to it. We know that it's not going to convince all of you, so we will still briefly go over Kalista top right here. Kalista top is a pretty neat pick with a ton of carry potential. Have you ever met a top laner that enjoys playing against ranged lane opponents? Probably not, and that's because they're pretty oppressive. Kalista is able to thrive against less mobile picks in the top lane, including juggernauts as well as tanks. We are seeing plenty of new melee champions come back because of item changes that we've seen hit the Rift, and that's great news for Kalista because she's very mobile. She's already a huge nuisance, but when she gets to lane against a melee champion, she starts to become an even bigger problem than you would have hoped for. The fact that she gets to bind with her jungler also allows her to threaten dives on her opponents after level 6. Whenever she chunks down an enemy, Kalista's jungler can easily come through, start a tower dive, and then get pulled to safety after tanking some turret shots. For runes, take Hail of Blades, Sudden Impact or Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, and Ravenous Hunter, followed by Overheal and Legend Alacrity. For items, go Sanguine Blade, Berserker's Greaves, Blade of the Ruined King, Mercurial Scimitar, Rapid Fire Cannon, and Mortal Reminder. Alright, next up is Dr. Mundo. A highly underrated build is to take Unsealed Spellbook on him. It's not like Grasp of the Undying is bad by any means, it's just that Spellbook has now flown under the radar. Imagine playing Dr. Mundo without a keystone at all. Well, if you think about it, it's kinda like he'll do everything that he already wants to do quite effectively. He's such a simple champion, and a lot of champions do rely on a keystone for some fundamental part of their gameplay. Comet for poking, Phase Rush to get in and out, and Conqueror for some extra damage. However, even without a keystone, Mundo is already able to do whatever he pleases. He pokes just fine with his cleavers and he doesn't need a lot of assistance there. He already deals a decent amount of damage. He's not the type to benefit from Phase Rush too much, as he really just has to land the cleavers to get in range. Taking Unsealed Spellbook will actually allow him to switch to some combat spells, which will much more often be valuable than a keystone. If you get Exhaust or Ghost, it can provide a ton of extra dueling strength that he otherwise did not have. For the full runes, take Spellbook, Perfect Timing, Minion Dematerializer, and Cosmic Insight with Second Wind and Overgrowth. Honestly, everyone may have been overvaluing approach velocity on Mundo. Cosmic Insight is also another great option for the various cooldown reductions that it provides. However, feel free to make adjustments based on whatever works out for you. For items, you're just looking at a normal build: Sunfire Cape, Tabbies or Merc, Spirit Visage, Thornmail, Warmogs, and Stoneplate. We have a lot of top lane builds this patch, but we promise this is the last one. It's, yeah. I don't really know what to call this one, actually. Let's call it, Ultimate Bravery Zillion, I guess. So there's been this guy in Korean solo queue who's been building what looks like a bunch of random items on Zilean in basically every role. However, if you sift through a bunch of his games, our analysts have managed to piece together a skeleton of what he's trying to do. Basically, like Mundo, Zilean can do whatever he needs to do without the necessary parts of a keystone. However, you don't take Spellbook, you just take whatever suits your needs better. What we've been seeing most is either summon Aerie in ranged matchups or press the attack against melee champions. Zilean is, at the end of the day, a ranged champion who can apply a ton of pressure with press the attack, I guess. For runes, either run Aerie, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, and Scorch with Biscuit Delivery and Time Warp Tonic, or press the attack with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, Cut Down, Biscuit Delivery, and Time Warp Tonic. For items, you'll always want that synergy with Corrupting Pot and to synergize with your Time Warp Tonic, and then from there go Boots of Swiftness, Seraph's Hextech GLP, Deadman's Death Cap, and a Banshee's Veil, or Boots of Swiftness, Gnasher's Tooth, Deadman's Adaptive Helm, Void Staff, and Death Cap. Essentially, the main focuses of this build are to build items that are inexpensive, but still will provide Zilean with cooldown reduction. It doesn't matter how he gets it, as long as he gets it. Also, there's more emphasis on survival with items like Deadman's Blade. The bonus movement speed is basically persistence, and Zilean won't need to auto attack if he didn't opt to go into the Gnasher's Tooth and press the attack build. With the Gnasher's build, it allows Zilean to deal a little bit more consistent damage, but what's more important is the fact that every build does incorporate some cooldown reduction. Alright, if you missed them, take a look at these builds on screen one last time, because we have to head into the jungle next. We're going to kick off the jungle with Manamune Kindred. This is a build innovated and advocated for by NA's best Kindred player, Forest Within. Everybody knows what Kindred does, so let's just talk about the build. One of the biggest strengths of this build is the insane 2-item power spike. Your 2 core items are the Warrior Enchantment and a Manamune. Manamune only costs 2,400 gold, while Warrior only costs 2,600 gold. So for just about 5,000 gold, you're going to hit your core items, you're going to spike so much faster than all other 9 players in the game with this build, and then hitting your power spikes earlier than your opponents also allows you to have stat advantages during crucial fights, and of course allows you to go get those marks. For runes, you'll want to take Press the Attack, Presence of Mind, Legend Alacrity, and Last Stand with Magical Footwear and Futures Market. You'll take Presence of Mind for the extra mana, which will synergize with your Mirror Mana item. On top of that, the Precision Tree is quite straightforward. Magical Footwear and Futures Market are mandatory with this build. You're going to want as much gold efficiency as you can, so free boots are definitely in your game plan somewhere. Futures Market makes it much easier for you to get those big purchases out of the way, and it's crucial that you have enough gold to finish items, so you must use this. For items, go Warrior, Mirror Mana, Mercury Treads, Black Cleaver, Maw Malmortius, and Guardian Angel. If you don't need MR, swap it up and take Rune's, Infinity Edge, and Mortal Reminder instead. Before you jump in and try this build out, there's one thing that Forest Within specifically mentions is the way that you have to spend your gold early on in the game. You'll start with a Hunter Machete like normal, but your goal is to buy a pickaxe on your first base. As long as you can get the gold for it, it's a pretty safe purchase. What marksman doesn't like AD after all? It will then help you clear your jungle and also give you some dueling power, and then your next goal is to base with 1,500 gold and finish the Mirror Mana. You do not buy tier under any circumstances. This is an extremely ineffective buy, so if you don't have enough to finish the item, just upgrade your machete into a Skirmisher's instead. If you want to learn more about this build, make sure to go check out Forest Within's Twitch stream. His link will be in the description down below. Next up, we have a little throwback, but don't be caught off guard if you see another one in just a little bit. Predator Olaf is back and just as scary as before. Olaf already has so much damage into his kit. The combination of the bonus attack speed based on missing health, his non-existent axe cooldown, lifesteal built into his W, and true damage on his E make this Viking one that really packs a punch. What we're trying to say is that you're not required to run Conqueror on Olaf. What he usually struggles with is getting onto his targets to begin with. So taking Predator alleviates this, and you should have an easier time engaging fights and finding ganks. And here's a recap for all of the builds that we've mentioned for jungle. Take a screenshot if you want to try these out later, and now let's run it down mid. Kicking off the mid lane is Hextech Gunblade Rise. The amount of healing he gains from Hextech Gunblade is pretty insane. Although healing is mitigated significantly for AoE, his Q gets a small little twist. Whenever Rise's Q hits multiple targets, the first target hit will register as a single target spell, while the secondary hits of Q will register as AoE. So as a result, Rise is still able to heal an insane amount during this spell rotation. His E also counts as a single target ability, so cycling through spells will allow him to stay healthy and quickly sustain back any damage that he's taken. For the runes, it's Phase Rush, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm with Ravenous Hunter and Taste of Blood. Although these are the standard Rise runes, I want to point out the synergy between Hextech Gunblade that it shares with Ravenous Hunter. The amount of healing that they provide with Rise is insane, and if you put it all together, it's absolutely disgusting and makes him very frustrating to play against. For items, it's Roa, Seraph's Embrace, Sorcerer's Shoes, Gunblade, Rabadon's Deathcap, and a Void Staff. Call this one a throwback, but I think that Frozen Mallet is once again a popular pickup on Yasuo. The top 3 Yasuo mains in the Korean server make sure to build this as their 3rd or 4th item in basically every game. The item is so powerful on Yasuo for a variety of reasons. First of all, it makes him a little bit tankier. Yasuo is, well, quite notorious for getting blown up. You know, the 0-10 power spike, that whole thing. However, with Phantom Dancer and Frozen Mallet, Yasuo finds himself as a very difficult target to kill. Being a little bit tankier also makes it more plausible for Yasuo to activate his passive multiple times during a fight. The combination of Mallet and Phantom Dancer allow Yasuo to hunt down his opponents to the ends of the earth. Phantom Dancer provides some bonus movement speed while Frozen Mallet slows on basic attacks, so it's a double whammy. Once Yasuo manages to jump on his target, it becomes incredibly difficult to break out of his barrage of slashes, not to mention you're probably going to get knocked up by his tornado. Aside from the Frozen Mallet, the rest of the build is very vanilla. For runes, it's Conquer, Triumph, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter, and items are Phantom Dancer, Zerkers, Infinity Edge, Mallet, Bloodthirster, and Merkskim. Alright, that's a wrap up for the mid lane. Make sure to take a look at the screen one more time for those builds, and let's head into the bottom lane. So it's possible that you might have heard about the 0 CS Senna trend, but we're going to highlight the most prominent bot lane duo right now. 0 CS Senna with a Tahm Kench support is one of the strongest bot lanes in the game right now. If you don't know what we're referring to, players have started playing Senna bottom lane as a support. That might sound confusing, so what this essentially means is that the support will be farming while Senna is the marksman forfeiting farm to them. This works because she can start picking up some minion kills later on into the game when she's finished her support item. And a big reason why this is better for her is that when Senna kills a minion herself, as a part of the nerfs that they recently gave her, it has a significantly lower chance of dropping a Mist Wraith for her. Conversely, if an ally kills a minion, it yields a significantly higher drop rate. So if you pick someone that is a flex solo pick, something like a Tahm Kench that you know without a doubt can put some gold to use, it's a win-win situation. It will probably end up that your support pick will be juiced up on steroids, which is a nice change of pace considering they usually don't get much gold. Tahm Kench is basically unstoppable in this lane because his E, combined with Senna's heals, makes him pretty much unkillable. There's really no plausible way to effectively zone them from the minion waves. For Senna's build and items, take Augment, Magical Footwear, Biscuit Delivery, and Approach Velocity with Presence of Mind and Legend Bloodline. Start the game with a Spectral Sickle, and then buy Manamune, Boots of Swiftness, Duskblade, Umbral Glaive, and Edge of Night. For Tahm, take Guardian, Font of Life, Conditioning, and Overgrowth with Dematerializer and Approach Velocity. For his items, start off with a Doran Shield. This will provide that extra sustain in lane and also make it easier to last hit. Afterwards, go Ninja Tabby, Dead Man's Plate, Stone Plate, Knight's Vow, and a Spirit Visage. Then sell that Doran Shield whenever you need to. Also, both champions will run Approach Velocity because they work off of each other's crowd control. When the time is right, they can chase down their opponents pretty well with it. Tahm Kench to take a minion dematerializer to secure those last couple of hits that are out of reach and make it easier for him to farm once he's consumed the charges. Anyway, that's all we got for the bot lane. Make sure to take a look at the screen one more time for those builds, and let's wrap it up with supports. First up for supports, we have Ziggs support. Joining the ranks of random mid laners that also works as a support is Ziggs. He plays quite similarly to Xerath support because of his very high range. You don't need to use mana to farm since you'd be playing Ziggs as a support, and instead all of your mana goes towards poking your enemies out and trading with them. Essentially, you just play Ziggs like you normally would, aside from the fact that you're in the bottom lane, don't need to farm, and also need to use wards. If a jungler is able to throw a Rift Herald down bottom, Ziggs can quickly use his W to finish off turrets that are low. After completing a Shard of True Ice, Ziggs has the option of picking up some farm, or even clearing some waves for his team whenever necessary. For runes, it's Comet, Mana Flow Ban, Absolute Focus, and Scorch with Biscuit Delivery and Cosmic Insight. Ideally, just stay out of engage range and poke down your enemies, so the combination of Absolute Focus and Scorch should easily provide some extra damage and assist you in pressuring down your opponents. For his items, it's Shard of True Ice, Luden's Echo, Sorcerer's Shoes, Morellonomicon, Rabadon's Deathcap, and a Void Staff. Anyway, that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Feel free to leave any comments or feedback down below, or just let us know what you liked about this video, because who doesn't like a compliment? Also, make sure you guys check out ProGuides.com, as well as our YouTube channel, both of which we are always updating with new content every single day. And until next time, good luck on the Rift.